In my work studying how the body defends itself, I've learned something important. Aging isn't just about the passage of time. It's about what happens inside your cells every single day, and whether your body has what it needs to repair the damage that naturally accumulates. Most people think of aging as inevitable decline, something that just happens to us. But when you look at the research, what becomes clear is that your body has extraordinary systems designed to protect you, renew you, and keep you functioning well for decades. The question isn't whether these systems exist. The question is whether we're creating the right environment for them to do their job. Let me explain what I mean. What's actually happening? Inside your cells, every cell in your body is like a small factory. It's taking in nutrients, producing energy, making proteins, and carrying out thousands of chemical reactions every second. This is normal. This is life. But here's the problem. Every time a cell does its work, it creates byproducts. Some of these are harmful free radicals, damaged proteins, broken pieces of DNA. Think of it like a factory that runs all day and accumulates waste on the production floor. If that waste isn't cleaned up, the factory starts to malfunction. Your body knows this. So it built in repair crews. One of the most important is called autophagy. The word literally means self-eating. And while that might sound strange, it's one of the most elegant processes in biology. Autophagy is your cell's recycling system. It breaks down damaged components, clears out cellular debris, and repurposes the materials to build new, healthy structures. It's like a night shift that comes in, cleans the factory floor, and gets everything ready for the next day. There's also DNA repair. Your DNA gets damaged constantly, from sunlight, from environmental toxins, even from normal metabolic processes, but your cells have enzymes that patrol your DNA, looking for errors and fixing them before they become problems. When this system works well, damaged cells are either repaired or safely removed. When it doesn't, that's when we start to see the hallmarks of aging: cellular dysfunction, chronic inflammation, and increased disease risk. Then there's your immune system, which doesn't just fight infections. It also scans your body for cells that have become damaged or dysfunctional and quietly removes them. This process, called immune surveillance, is happening all the time. It's one of the reasons your body doesn't accumulate as much damage as it could. Here's what's interesting. These systems don't weaken simply because you get older. They weaken because they stop getting the support they need. How modern life disrupts cellular defense. In a clinical setting, I see this pattern repeatedly. People come in feeling tired, inflamed, mentally foggy. And when we look deeper, what we often find is that their body's repair systems are overwhelmed. Why? Because modern life creates a perfect storm of cellular stress. We eat too many processed foods that spike blood sugar and trigger inflammation. We're exposed to environmental toxins our ancestors never encountered. We don't sleep enough, which is when most cellular repair happens. We live with chronic stress, which floods the body with cortisol and suppresses immune function. And we're often sedentary, which reduces circulation and limits the delivery of nutrients to tissues. None of this is dramatic on any given day, but over time it adds up. Think of it this way: if your cellular repair crews are designed to clean up a certain amount of damage each night, but you're creating twice that amount of damage each night, each day, the system falls behind. The factory floor gets messier, waste accumulates, processes slow down, and eventually the machinery starts to break. This is what we call inflammaging, a low-grade chronic inflammation that develops as the body struggles to keep up with the damage. Research published in Nature Reviews Immunology has shown that this kind of persistent inflammation is a major driver of age-related diseases, cardiovascular disease, neurodegenerative conditions, metabolic dysfunction, even cancer. But here's the encouraging part: your body still wants to repair itself. The systems are still there. They just need the right environment. Why food matters more than you think. When I talk to patients about longevity, I don't start with medication, I start with food. Not because food is a cure, it's not, but because food is the most direct way to influence the cellular environment your body is operating in. Every time you eat, you're sending signals to your cells. You're providing raw materials for energy production. You're either feeding inflammation or calming it. You're either supporting your repair systems or overwhelming them. What we're learning from research, particularly in the fields of cellular biology and nutritional biochemistry, is that certain compounds in food directly activate the pathways that support longevity. They turn on genes involved in stress resistance. They enhance autophagy. They reduce oxidative damage. They help regulate inflammation. A study in Cell Metabolism from 2019 showed that specific polyphenols, plant compounds found in foods like berries, green tea, and dark leafy greens can activate a protein called AMPK, which acts like a metabolic master switch. When AMPK is activated, it tells your cells to shift into repair and maintenance mode. It enhances mitochondrial function, improves insulin sensitivity, and promotes the breakdown of damaged cellular components. Another area of research focuses on something called senescent cells that have stopped dividing but haven't died. They just sit there, releasing inflammatory signals that damage neighboring cells. Some foods contain compounds that help your body clear these cells naturally, reducing what researchers call the senescence burden. Work published in Nature Medicine has shown that reducing senescent cells in animal models leads to significant improvements in health span, the number of years lived in good health. This isn't about eating one superfood and reversing aging. It's about consistently providing your body with the tools it needs to do what it's already designed to do: repair, regenerate, and protect. The body already knows how to heal. Here's something I remind patients of regularly. Your body is not broken. It's not failing you. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, given the environment you've created for it. If you're inflamed, it's because your immune system is responding to signals of threat, whether that's from food, stress, or lack of sleep. If you're tired, it's because your cells aren't producing energy efficiently, often because they're overwhelmed with metabolic waste. If you're gaining weight or struggling with blood sugar, it's because your metabolic signaling has been disrupted by years of insulin spikes and inflammatory triggers. None of this is permanent. The systems can be supported. Balance can be restored. In the research community, we talk about something called metabolic flexibility, the ability of your cells to efficiently switch between burning glucose and burning fat for fuel. This flexibility declines with age, but it's not inevitable. Studies in the Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology have shown that dietary interventions can restore metabolic flexibility even in older adults, leading to improvements in energy, body composition, and markers of cellular health. The same is true for immune function. A study in the Journal of Nutrition found that older adults who consumed higher amounts of certain nutrients, particularly omega-3 fatty acids and polyphenols, showed improved immune response and lower levels of chronic inflammation compared to those who didn't. Their bodies didn't suddenly become young again, but they were given the resources to function better. This is the key insight. Aging isn't just time passing. It's the accumulation of cellular damage that your body can't keep up with. And when you support the systems that clear that damage, you change the trajectory, creating the right environment. So what does support look like? It's not complicated, but it does require consistency. Your repair systems don't respond to one good meal or one good week. They respond to patterns, to what you do most of the time. Your body needs anti-inflammatory compounds to calm chronic immune activation, antioxidants to neutralize free radicals before they damage DNA and proteins, fiber to feed the beneficial bacteria in your gut which produce short-chain fatty acids that regulate inflammation and support immune function, healthy fats to maintain cell membrane integrity and support brain health, polyphenols to activate longevity pathways like AMPK, and sirtuins, adequate protein to provide amino acids for cellular repair and muscle maintenance. These aren't exotic requirements. They're found in whole foods that humans have been eating for thousands of years. The problem is that most people aren't eating them consistently or in amounts that make a difference. What I've found in my own life and what I recommend to patients is that the goal isn't perfection. It's creating a daily baseline of support, a foundation that allows your body to do what it's designed to do. And that's where we'll go next. The specific foods I eat every day, how they work, and why I've chosen them based on the evidence. Let me be clear about something up front. I don't eat perfectly. I travel. I have busy days. Sometimes I eat things just because I enjoy them. But what I've learned over years of studying cellular health is that consistency matters more than perfection, and small daily habits compound in ways that dramatic interventions never do. So when people ask what I actually eat, not what I recommend in theory, but what's on my plate most days, here's what I tell them. Morning, starting the cellular repair process. I begin most mornings with coffee, but not just any coffee. I make it a point to use high-quality beans, and I add something that might seem unusual, a small amount of extra virgin olive oil, about a teaspoon, along with a pinch of cinnamon. Here's why. Coffee itself is one of the most potent sources of polyphenols in the modern diet. Research published in the Journal of Nutrition found that regular coffee consumption is associated with lower levels of systemic inflammation and improved markers of metabolic health. The polyphenols in coffee, particularly chlorogenic acid, have been shown to activate pathways that enhance cellular energy production and reduce oxidative stress. The olive oil serves a different purpose. Extra virgin olive oil contains a compound called oleocanthal, which has anti-inflammatory properties similar to ibuprofen, but without the side effects. A study in Nature demonstrated that oleocanthal inhibits the same inflammatory enzymes that non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs target. But more importantly, the healthy fats in olive oil help your body absorb fat-soluble nutrients and support the integrity of cell membranes throughout the day. The cinnamon, it helps regulate blood sugar, even a small amount. Half a teaspoon has been shown in studies published in Diabetes Care to improve insulin sensitivity and reduce post-meal glucose spikes. This matters because every time your blood sugar spikes sharply, it triggers inflammation and creates oxidative stress. Keeping blood sugar stable throughout the day is one of the most effective ways to reduce cellular damage. After coffee, I eat. And my breakfast almost always includes two things: berries and nuts. I usually have a mixed blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, whatever's available, about a cup total. Berries are extraordinary. They contain anthocyanins, a class of polyphenols that have been studied extensively for their effects on brain health and cellular aging. Research from Annals of Neurology involving over 16,000 participants found that higher berry consumption was associated with slower rates of cognitive decline by as much as 2.5 years in some cases. But what's happening at the cellular level is even more interesting. Anthocyanins activate sirtuins, a family of proteins that regulate cellular health and longevity. They enhance mitochondrial function, which means your protein number rises. Cells produce energy more efficiently, and they help protect DNA from oxidative damage, which is critical for preventing the mutations that can lead to age-related diseases. I pair the berries with a handful of walnuts, about an ounce, which is roughly 14 halves. Walnuts are one of the best plant sources of omega-3 fatty acids, specifically alpha-linolenic acid, ALA. Your body converts some of this into EPA and DHA, the omega-3s that reduce inflammation and support brain health. A study in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology found that people who ate walnuts regularly had better endothelial function, meaning their blood vessels were more flexible and responsive, which is a key marker of cardiovascular health. I'm not measuring this obsessively, I'm not counting every berry. But this combination, polyphenol-rich fruit, anti-inflammatory fats, and a blood sugar-stable start creates an environment where my cells can function well. Midday, feeding the gut and immune system. For lunch, I focus on vegetables and fiber, a lot of fiber. Most days, this looks like a large salad with dark leafy greens, arugula, spinach, or mixed greens along with other vegetables like tomatoes, cucumbers, bell peppers, and cruciferous vegetables like broccoli or cauliflower when I have them. I add a source of protein, often fish or legumes, and I dress it with extra virgin olive oil in vinegar or lemon. The reason I prioritize fiber is because of what happens in your gut. Your gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living in your intestines, plays a far more significant role in your health than most people realize. These bacteria ferment the fiber you eat and produce short-chain fatty acids, particularly one called butyrate. Butyrate is a primary fuel source for the cells lining your colon. But it also has systemic effects. It reduces inflammation, strengthens the gut barrier, and even influences gene expression related to metabolism and immune function. Research in Cell has shown that people with more diverse microbiomes have lower levels of chronic inflammation and better metabolic health. And the single most effective way to support microbiome diversity is to eat a variety of plant fibers. The cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, contain something called sulforaphane, a compound that activates a cellular defense pathway called UNRF2. When UNRF2 is activated, it turns on genes that produce antioxidant enzymes and detoxification proteins. It's like giving your cells better tools to handle stress. A study published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that sulforaphane enhanced autophagy and improved cellular resilience to oxidative stress. I also make it a point to include tomatoes regularly. Tomatoes contain lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that's been studied extensively for its protective effects on DNA. What's interesting is that lycopene is better absorbed when tomatoes are cooked and consumed with fat, which is why I often have them in salads with olive oil or in cooked dishes. Research from the Journal of the National Cancer Institute has linked higher lycopene intake with reduced markers of oxidative DNA damage. Again, this isn't about perfection. Some days lunch is simpler, but the pattern is consistent: lots of vegetables, fiber, healthy fats, and a source of protein. Afternoon, a small ritual that matters in the afternoon. I drink green tea. I'm not someone who makes a ceremony out of it, but I do drink it almost daily, usually 2 cups between lunch and dinner. Green tea contains catechins, particularly one called epigallocatechin gallate, or EGCG. This compound has been studied more than almost any other plant molecule for its effects on cellular aging. EGCG activates AMPK, the same metabolic switch I mentioned earlier. It enhances mitochondrial function, supports autophagy, and has been shown to reduce the accumulation of senescent cells, those damaged cells that sit in your tissues and release inflammatory signals. A study in Nature Medicine found that EGCG improved markers of cellular health and reduced inflammation in older adults who consumed it regularly over several months. But here's something I find particularly interesting. Green tea also supports something called angiogenesis, the process by which your body forms new blood vessels. This might sound niche, but it's critical. Healthy angiogenesis means better circulation, better nutrient delivery to tissues, and better waste removal. Abnormal angiogenesis, on the other hand, is involved in everything from chronic wounds to cancer progression. The catechins in green tea help regulate this process, promoting healthy blood vessel formation while inhibiting the kind of abnormal vessel growth seen in disease states. Research published in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry has shown that regular green tea consumption is associated with improved vascular function and reduced cardiovascular risk. I drink it plain, no sugar, no milk, just steeped for 3 to 4 minutes in water that's hot but not boiling, which preserves more of the beneficial compounds. Evening, ending the day with cellular support. Dinner varies more than other meals, but there are few things I include consistently. I eat fish, particularly fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, or sardines, at least 3 to 4 times a week. These are some of the best sources of omega-3 fatty acids, and the evidence for their benefits is extensive. Omega-3s reduce inflammation, support brain health, improve insulin sensitivity, and help maintain the fluidity of cell membranes. A study in The Lancet followed over 2,500 adults for more than a decade and found that those with higher blood levels of omega-3 fatty acids age more slowly at cellular level. They measured this by looking at telomeres, the protective caps at the ends of chromosomes that shorten as cells divide. Shorter telomeres are associated with aging and disease. The people with higher omega-3 levels had longer telomeres, suggesting that their cells were aging more slowly. When I'm not eating fish, I focus on plant-based proteins like lentils or chickpeas. Paired with more vegetables, I often include mushrooms, shiitake, maitake, or even simple button mushrooms because they contain beta-glucans, compounds that support immune function. Research in the Journal of the American College of Nutrition found that eating mushrooms daily enhanced immune cell activity and reduced markers of inflammation. I also eat dark chocolate most evenings. Not a lot, usually about 1 ounce, which is 1 or 2 squares of a bar that's at least 70% cacao. Dark chocolate is rich in flavonoids, particularly epicatechin, which has been shown to improve blood flow, enhance mitochondrial function, and support cardiovascular health. A study published in Heart found that people who consume moderate amounts of dark chocolate regularly had a low risk of heart disease and stroke. This isn't dessert, it's a deliberate choice based on the evidence. But it also happens to be something I enjoy, which makes it easy to sustain. What about timing? One thing I've paid more attention to in recent years is when I eat, not just what I eat. I practice a mild form of time-restricted eating, which means I eat within a window of about 10 to 12 hours most days. I'm not rigid about it, but most of the time, I finish dinner by 7 or 8 p.m. and don't eat again until 7 or 8 a.m. the next day. Here's why this matters. When you're not eating, your body shifts into a different metabolic state. Insulin levels drop. Cellular repair processes like autophagy ramp up. Your liver starts breaking down stored fat for energy. Growth hormone increases, which supports muscle maintenance and tissue repair. Research from Cell Metabolism has shown that time-restricted eating, even without changing what you eat, can improve metabolic markers, reduce inflammation, and enhance cellular stress resistance. In animal studies, it's been shown to extend lifespan. In humans, it improves insulin sensitivity, reduces oxidative stress, and supports weight management. I don't think of this as fasting. I think of it as giving my body time to focus on repair instead of digestion. And the evidence suggests that even this modest approach makes a difference. A small story. I had a patient a few years ago, a man in his early 60s, who came in feeling exhausted, mentally foggy, and frustrated. His blood work showed elevated inflammation markers, poor glucose control, and signs of oxidative stress. He wasn't sick exactly, but he wasn't well. We didn't start with medication, we started with food. I asked him to do 3 things: eat berries and nuts every morning, add more vegetables and fish to his diet, and drink green tea in the afternoon. I also suggested he stop eating after 8 p.m. and try to get at least 12 hours overnight without food. He wasn't perfect, he traveled for work. He had days where none of this happened, but most days, he did it. 6 months later, his inflammation markers had dropped significantly. His fasting glucose had normalized. He'd lost weight without trying. But more importantly, he felt different. He had energy again. His mind felt clearer. He told me he felt like himself for the first time in years. Did the food cure him? No. But it created an environment where his body could do what it's designed to do: repair, regulate, and protect. The key is support, not force. I want to be clear about something. I'm not eating this way because I'm afraid of aging. I'm eating this way because I understand how the body works, and I want to give mine the best chance to function well for as long as possible. Aging is natural. Decline is not inevitable. Your body has systems autophagy, DNA repair, immune surveillance, metabolic regulation that are designed to keep you healthy. They don't stop working because you get older. They slow down because they stop getting the support they need. Food is that support. Not because it's magic, not because one meal will change everything, but because over time, consistent patterns create a cellular environment that either supports health or undermines it. And the difference between those two environments is often smaller than you think. If you're managing a medical condition or taking medication, this is something to discuss with your healthcare provider. But for most people, the foods I've described here are safe, accessible, and backed by decades of research. You don't need to do everything I do. You don't need to eat perfectly. But if you start adding more of these foods into your routine, berries in the morning, more vegetables at lunch, green tea in the afternoon, fatty fish a few times a week, you'll be moving in the right direction. Your body will notice. It might take weeks or months, but the systems will respond. Inflammation will calm, energy will improve, cellular repair will catch up. That's not a promise, it's just what happens when you create the right environment. Start small, be consistent, and pay attention to how your body responds. The evidence here is quiet, consistent, and reliable, and so is the process.